He won 3 rings with the Cowboys in 93, 92, and 1995. Multiple-time Pro Bowler, over a decade in the NFL with the Cowboys. Daryl Moose Johnston joining us via the Cowherd Global Satellite Network. Fox NFL analyst as well. Cardinals-Packers this Sunday. All right, so you live in Dallas. I want your perspective in Dallas. The national perspective on Dak, outside of Skip Bayless, is there's limitations. You don't want to pay him $28 million. This is kind of an average team if Dak's running it. What is, though, the perspective in the city in which you live, Dallas? Are they gaga over Dak? Do they think he should be one of the highest paid? What do people say where you live?
Well, I don't know if they're completely sold on Dak just yet as that guy that's going to command that type of salary. But the one thing that has happened is I've never seen this city as low as it was after the Titans lost on Monday night. And it's been a gradual buildup to what they did on Thanksgiving. So the big win on the road at Philly in the division, going down to Atlanta and winning that game where you got embarrassed last year on national television, and then the big win on Thanksgiving Day when Amari Cooper shows that explosive capability that he has as a wide receiver. Now everything's very excited again. But from an individual perspective, I don't think anybody's going there. I think we're just excited about where the team is at right now here in the city of Dallas.
Listen, the 6 highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL, none lead the division. The 8 division leaders are 3 veteran quarterbacks, Breeze, Brady, Ben, taking discounts, and 5 other teams with quarterbacks on rookie contracts. 8 for 8, that if you're spending $29 million in a quarterback, you're making, a rest of the roster, there's limitations. If Dak wins tonight, if Dallas wins this division, I think if they win tonight, that goes a long way into putting him in a more secure position. Dak's agent has a lot of leverage, Moose. 13-3 rookie season, saved the franchise. Another division title. Went head-to-head and beat Breeze. You start looking around, and he's one of the winningest quarterbacks in football in the last 3 years. Is he worth $28 million? I mean, they're going to ask for it. I'm not sure they're not going to get it.
Well, the big thing, I think you made a great point at the top. Let's go back and look at some of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league and what has happened after that time. I think Drew Brees back in 2009 had all the leverage, and he became the highest paid quarterback, but you can't pay your left tackle. You can't pay your third receiver. You can't pay your nickel slot. So now all of a sudden the team drops. We saw it with Flacco. We've seen it with Eli. Matthew Stafford is the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, at the start of the season.
Yep.
He's yet to win a playoff game. So, yeah, I would like to see Dak strike a balance where you get rewarded for the amount of work you've done, the quality of work you've done to get to that point, to have that opportunity. But then you also have to have the maturity to look forward and look backwards and see what happens when that quarterback demands that much salary, how it impacts everybody else on that roster. This is the greatest team sport for a reason. You need that supporting cast. We always talk about young quarterbacks having a supporting cast. Now, if you start to take away the ability of the organization to provide those assets because you're the number one concern when it comes to the salary cap, you've got to find that happy balance right there if you want to have success moving forward.
Some have suggested that Jerry Jones, as he has gotten older, he's always been very loyal to players. He treats players wonderfully, yourself included. But there has been this sentiment. Jerry is aged. He just doesn't want chaos at quarterback. So he's being overly loyal to a young Dak. Do you kind of buy the argument that as Jerry's aged, maybe Dak's not the best, but it's not going to be chaotic. And he had a chaotic year a couple years ago when Tony got hurt, and it was a miserable year for Jerry. Could I say he's too loyal to Dak?
Well, stability at quarterback is such a huge thing, and we see that. Look at Tampa Bay. If you can create stability at the quarterback position, it really gives you that first step for having success as a team. So, that's your number one concern. So now it's just a question of how do you navigate that. But Jerry's, he's had great relationships with multiple players in that franchise. Tony Romo being one of the guys, at the quarterback position. Michael Irvin and Jerry Jones are still very good personal friends from their time together with the Dallas Cowboys. So that has always been a component that's there. And you just have to see how they're going to navigate the negotiations as they move forward. Because it impacts everything we've talked about, the ability to stay competitive for a long period of time, balancing, rewarding the player for what he's done, but also giving you the opportunity to be able to get the critical pieces put around him.
So as I shift gears, and by the way, the Amari Cooper move, we liked, it's paid off. I've said this before. I think the NFL's better when the Dallas Cowboys are exciting and winning, and they are, and it's good for the league and it's good for Fox. Aaron Rodgers, been a lot of negativity around him this year. Big Ben yesterday calling out teammates. Baker Mayfield's doing a lot of talking. You played with a legend, Troy Aikman. And by the way, that Cowboy team, you had Jimmy, you had Jerry, later you had Barry, you had all sorts of stuff. I'm seeing these quarterbacks, they extend stories. They linger because the quarterbacks talk about them. Take me back to Troy Aikman, because Dallas was full of superstars, and I always felt like Troy killed stories. He didn't extend stories. Is my memory serve me correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. If there was a story, it was going to be killed, but he didn't create the story, which was even the better part. And he knew the responsibility as being the voice and the face of the franchise. When he would go into a press conference or he talked to the media during the course of the week, he was always calculated in what his comments were going to be. And I used to watch him post-game, and I would watch him get all the frustration out of his system before he walked across the hall with Rich Dalrymple to do that post-game press conference. And then he one-worded or cliched the media, and it drove them crazy. But he was never going to say something in the heat of the battle when you're emotionally raw after a football game and allow the local media to drive a wedge between our team. And I think that's something, I think it's a skill at the quarterback position when you're the face of the franchise that some of these young guys have to learn. You can be honest and have a conversation, but you don't have to tell them everything that you're thinking or what's going on in the locker room. And we always talked about it. You're going to have distractions and challenges during the course of the season. What you want to do as a team and the players on that team is minimize the ones that you're in control in. And I think you make a great point. It seems like what Ben is doing, what Aaron Rodgers has been doing this season, what Baker Mayfield has been doing this week, they're taking a story and they could kill it and they're extending it. And that now all of a sudden in your locker room, your teammates are talking about all these topics that have nothing to do with football, nothing to do with your opponent, and it's just a distraction that could have been avoided.
Finally, Chargers, I think, could be the best team in L.A., and I think everybody in L.A. has fallen for Sean McVay and the Rams. Just give me your thoughts for a minute here on Phillip Rivers, the Chargers. I've been told you think they're pretty special, too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We had him last week. We watched Phillip Rivers, and there was some, getting ready for the game this week, Arizona, Green Bay. You heard the guys on Green Bay talk about, well, Phillip Rivers was just throwing the ball short. He wasn't doing anything down the field, and that's what happened against Arizona. And the Cardinals defense as well, saying he didn't get anything down the field. Well, actually he did. He got a couple down the field on you, and he was just very smart with the football, and he's got great playmakers. And I think that's why this team is dangerous. They've got an excellent set of wide receivers. They've got production at the tight end with Virgil Green. They've got dynamic combination in the backfield. The big question will be, how is Melvin Gordon? And then defensively, Melvin Ingram, Joey Bosa on the edges. They've got a good secondary. They can pressure the passer. They can shut down the run. That will be the biggest challenge with some of the injuries inside, is how do they hold up against the run. But I thought Jimmy Johnson made a great comment last week during the course of the pregame shows, where sometimes it's not who has the best record going into the playoffs, it's who's playing the best, because sometimes that's not the case. You've kind of built that record during the course of the year, and maybe you're not playing your best football as you get into December. The Chargers could be that team that's playing the best football going into the playoffs. And in my opinion, that's the most dangerous team that you're going to have to face, is a team that's playing well. It's got all those issues figured out, and it's kind of hit their stride right as the playoff come around.
And by the way, every game's a road game seemingly. So they're 4-1 on the road this year. There's not a variation home and away that you kind of get the same Chargers every week, where I always feel like the Packers are better at Lambeau than they are on the road. Daryl Moose Johnston, 3 rings. Love having you as a Fox NFL analyst. Moose, thanks so much. It's a busy time in your life, and I appreciate you giving us 10 minutes.
No problem. Always good catching up with you, Colin.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd, or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.